Build a mind so strong it scares people. Have you ever walked into a room and sensed that someone there was different, not because they were loud or trying to stand out, but because there was something deeply steady about them? They didn't speak much, but when they did, every word landed with weight. They didn't flinch when challenged, didn't react when provoked. It's not fear they inspire, it's a quiet kind of awe. The kind that makes people pause before crossing them. What if you could be that person? In a world full of noise and chaos, the strongest presence is often the one that says the least, but stands the tallest. The question is, how do you build a mind so solid, so calm, so unshakable, that others feel it without you saying a word? That's what this journey is about. We're not chasing the illusion of toughness, the kind that's loud, performative, and breaks under pressure. We're building something deeper, Stoic strength. The kind practiced by Roman emperors, forged in silence, and tested in fire. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear: you don't develop a strong mind by avoiding pain. You build it by walking through the fire and learning not to flinch. If this message moved you, share it with someone who needs it. Now let's get into it. You don't need to raise your voice to prove your power. A grounded mind demands respect not through noise but through presence. In a world where most people react quick to anger, quick to complain, quick to give up, the one who stays calm and rational becomes the most formidable. Not because they fight the hardest, but because they can't be shaken. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, one of history's most powerful men, wrote these words in the chaos of war: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. It's simple and brutally difficult, because your mind is trained, and disciplined is a traitor. It lies, panics, overreacts. It tells you the world is against you, that things shouldn't be this hard, that people should treat you better. And if you listen to it without question, it will control you. But when you begin to question it, when you train yourself to pause before you react, to challenge your first emotion, to ask, is this really worth my peace? That's when the shift happens. You stop needing life to go your way. You stop believing pain is proof something is wrong. You stop trying to control what you can't. And you begin to master what you can. That's the Stoic way. Let me tell you a story to help frame this wisdom. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, endured years in Nazi concentration camps. He lost everything: his family, his freedom, his identity. But in that unimaginable suffering, he discovered one unshakable truth. When we are no longer able to change a situation, he wrote, we are challenged to change ourselves. He realized that even in the depths of hell, one freedom remained: the freedom to choose his response. That's what Stoicism is. It's not denial of pain. It's the refusal to be defined by it. So let me ask you, what if you stopped believing life is supposed to be easy? What if you saw every challenge as a workout for the soul, a resistance you push against not because you enjoy it, but because it's what builds you? Imagine your mind like a blade. Left untouched, it stays dull. But when it's hammered by life, pressed against stone, and pulled through fire, it begins to sharpen. And so do you. This is your first shift. You don't need to fix the world. You need to strengthen your mind. You can't control your boss, your past, or your pain. But you can control how you respond. And the one who can do that without applause, without drama, is the one who becomes untouchable. That's not arrogance. That's inner peace. And it doesn't come from quotes on your wall. It comes from choosing again and again to do the hard thing when no one's watching. To let go of what doesn't serve you. To show up for your own life without needing to be rescued. It's not about becoming fearless. It's about becoming steady. And when you do that, people notice. They may not know what changed, but they'll feel it. They'll feel that you're no longer easily shaken. No longer triggered by noise, by opinions, by chaos. And that kind of calm, that kind of presence, it's rare. It's powerful. And yes, sometimes it's intimidating. So if you're ready to build that kind of mind, stay with me. Because in the next section, we'll uncover the subtle habits that quietly weaken your mind and how to break them before they break you. Break the habits that quietly weaken you. Sometimes it's not the big things that bring us down. It's the small, silent habits that slip beneath our awareness. Habits we tell ourselves are harmless, but in truth, they eat away at our strength, one quiet moment at a time. If you've ever wondered why you feel stuck while you're not growing, not moving forward, not becoming who you know you could be, it's not because you lack potential. It's because somewhere along the way, you've started feeding habits that quietly imprison your mind. And if you want to build a mind that commands quiet respect, that radiates unshakable presence, you must first do this: clear the mental clutter. Let's start with one of the most seductive habits: complaining. Complaining is comfort food for the mind. It's sweet, satisfying, and addictive. But every time you indulge in it, you reinforce a dangerous belief that you are powerless. You complain about traffic, about work, about people, about the weather. And for a moment, it feels good. It lets off steam. But underneath, your mind hears the same message again and again: I can't change this. And slowly, that belief becomes your truth. Let me be clear: strong people don't complain. They act or they let go. If they can change something, they move. If they can't, they accept it. Everything in between is wasted energy. Next time you feel the urge to complain, stop. Ask yourself, can I change this? If the answer is yes, act. If not, release it. Don't argue with reality. Learn to flow with it. Now let's talk about another enemy: comfort. We all love comfort. A soft bed, a warm room, familiar routines. But here's the paradox: the more you chase comfort, the weaker you become. Growth lives on the edge of discomfort. Every time you avoid the cold, the awkward conversation, the early wake minus up, you're retelling yourself, I choose not to grow today. And the mind remembers. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher and advisor to emperors, warned against becoming too soft. He believed that practicing discomfort on purpose, sleeping on the floor, fasting, braving the cold, was a way to prepare the mind for chaos. Because when life hits into it, you won't be caught off guard. You'll have already trained yourself to endure. You don't need to suffer. But you do need to step into discomfort on purpose. Choose the cold shower. Speak your truth. Do the task you've been avoiding. Every act of chosen discomfort is a vote for your strength. Now, let's expose a clever disguise: excuses. I'm too tired. I don't have time. I'm not like those people. Sound familiar? Excuses are not truths. They are elegant masks for fear. And if you say them enough, you'll start believing them. But beneath every excuse is a truth you don't want to face: that you're scared. Of failing. Of judgment. Of being seen trying and not succeeding. But here's what Stoicism teaches: courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing anyway. A Stoic doesn't negotiate with fear. They act. They don't wait to feel ready. They move. So ask yourself, what in your life is stuck because of an excuse you keep repeating? And what would happen if, just for today, you drop that excuse? Let's look at one final habit. It's subtle, almost invisible, but it's everywhere: the need for approval. We all want to be liked. It's natural. But when your mind depends on other people's validation, you give away your freedom. You hesitate to speak. You doubt your choices. You mold yourself to fit someone else's expectations. And little by little, you disappear. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Think about that. Most people won't grow because they're afraid of looking silly. But the ones who rise, the ones who transform, they're the ones who are willing to be misunderstood, judged, even laughed at. Because their approval doesn't come from the crowd. It comes from within. That's where your power lies. Not in applause, but in your own clear conscience. And here's what no one tells you when you drop these habits: complaining, comfort minus seeking, excuse minus making, approval minus chasing. You don't feel empty. You feel lighter. Like a hot air balloon finally cutting the sandbags. You rise not because you added more, but because you let go. So, let me ask you something. Which one habit, just one, that you know is holding you back? Maybe it's scrolling for hours. Maybe it's skipping the hard conversations. Maybe it's saying yes when you mean no. You already know what it is. So today, don't overthink. Don't make a plan. Just stop it. No fanfare. No ceremony. Just one silent act of defiance against your old self. Because each time you choose better, each time you drop one weight, your mind grows stronger. Not louder, not tougher, but clearer, calmer, unshakable. And that's what sets you apart. Most people try to look strong, but you won't need to pretend. You'll be strong. Now that we've cleared the weeds, it's time to plant the seeds. Because in the next section, we'll explore the daily practices that not only strengthen your mind, but make that strength permanent. Daily practices that forge inner strength. Now that we've stripped away the mental clutter, the noise, the habits, the false beliefs, we're left with something rare: silence. But this isn't emptiness. It's opportunity. A blank page. And the question is, what will you write with your actions? This is where most people stop. They've read the quotes, watched the videos, felt the surge of motivation, then gone back to old ways. Because knowing the path is not the same as walking it. You don't build a strong mind in theory. You build it in repetition. In Stoicism, strength isn't a feeling. It's a discipline. A set of daily choices so small they often go unnoticed until one day they don't. One day someone will look at you and ask, "How are you always so calm?" And you'll smile, not because it was easy, but because you practiced when no one was watching. Let's start with the most powerful daily test, the cold shower. Sounds simple, maybe even silly, but it's not about hygiene. It's about resistance. Every morning, you face a choice: comfort or courage. That cold stream is your first battle. Will you retreat, or will you lean in? It's not the water that matters. It's the message: I don't need to feel ready. I choose to move anyway. And that message echoes into everything else you do that day. The next habit? Movement. A strong body isn't just about aesthetics. It's about respect for yourself, for your time, for your capacity to grow. When you lift, run, stretch, sweat, you're not just training muscles. You're training grit, consistency, self minus respect. Not because someone's watching, not for likes or applause, but because you said you would. And you did. Ask yourself, when was the last time you kept a promise to yourself? If you've been breaking them, start small. Walk every day. 10 minutes. Rain or shine. Not because it burns calories, but because it builds integrity. Now let's get quieter. Stillness. You can't control your emotions if you never take time to observe them. Set aside 5 minutes a day. No phone. No music. Just sit. Let the noise rise. Let your thoughts race. Don't judge them. Just notice. This is not about achieving peace. It's about noticing your inner world without reacting. Because if you can sit with discomfort in silence, you can stand with strength in chaos. Marcus Aurelius did this every morning. A Roman emperor, surrounded by power and pressure, and yet he journaled. He reflected. He got quiet. He wrote not to inspire others, but to train his own mind. You don't need a fancy ritual. Just ask yourself, what am I feeling? What triggered it? What part of me wants to react? This reflection is like sharpening a blade. You may not see the change instantly, but one day you'll cut through the noise with clarity. Now let's talk about challenge. You need one daily task that stretches you on purpose. Not for results, but to sharpen your edge. Wake up when the alarm rings. No snooze. Make the uncomfortable call. No postponing. Say no where you usually say yes. Do the thing you've avoided all week. These are tiny acts, but they forge the steel of your will. Epictetus said no man is free who is not master of himself. Freedom isn't in doing whatever you want. It's in doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't want to. Every time you choose the hard thing, you lay another brick. Every time you delay, you chisel a crack in your foundation. You are always training. The only question is, what are you training for? Think about it. If you avoid discomfort every day, what kind of mind are you building? One that crumbles under pressure? One that needs perfect conditions to function? That's not strength. That's fragility disguised as normal. You want real strength? Then train like the Stoics trained, not in comfort, but in friction. There's one final practice you must adopt. It seems small, but it changes everything. Every night before you sleep, write down one moment where you lost control. Maybe you got irritated in traffic. Maybe you snapped at a friend. Maybe you broke your promise to yourself. Write it down. Then write 3 ways you could have responded with more calm, more clarity, more strength. This is not punishment. It's preparation. Because the next time life tests you, and it will, you'll be ready. You'll remember. You'll pause. You'll respond, not react. And that's the moment you shift from knowing to being. From theory to mastery. From noise to presence. So start today. Pick one practice. Cold shower. Silence. Movement. Reflection. Challenge. Just one. And do it not because you feel like it, but because you're building something. Not for today, but for who you're becoming. Someone whose strength doesn't come from shouting, or posturing, or pretending, but from doing. Silently. Repeatedly. Relentlessly. Tomorrow, when your alarm rings, don't negotiate. Get up. Move. Reflect. Choose discomfort. Write it down. And repeat. Because the mind you want to build won't appear by accident. It's forged one choice at a time. Rethink failure like a Stoic. Failure. The word alone makes people flinch. It brings memories, shame, regrets. We're taught to avoid it, to fear it, to hide it. But what if everything you believe about failure is wrong? What if failure isn't a dead end, but a doorway? Not a punishment, but a teacher. To a Stoic, failure is never final. It's a 4-day place where true strength is shaped. Think of every great person you admire. Every leader, innovator, artist, warrior. Not one of them reached greatness without failing often, publicly, painfully, and repeatedly. But here's the difference. They didn't let it define them. They let it refine them. Most people see failure as proof that they're not good enough. A Stoic sees it as proof that they tried, that they reached, that they live. Failure is the map life gives you when you're off course. But too many people burn the map out of embarrassment, instead of reading it and adjusting. So let's ask the real question: what has failure been trying to teach you? Maybe it was the job you didn't get, the relationship that crumbled, the business idea that flopped. Did you pause? Reflect? Learn? Or did you run from it, numb it, or pretend it didn't happen? If you didn't learn from it, you missed your reward. Because in Stoic philosophy, the pain of failure isn't a punishment, it's information. A signal. A redirection. Seneca said, difficulty strengthens the mind, as labor does the body. You can't build inner strength in theory. You build it in the aftermath of loss, in the ache of disappointment, in the hollow silence after trying your best and still falling short. Here's the hard truth. The mind that never fails is a mind that never risks. And if you never risk, you never grow. Sarah Blakely, the billionaire founder of Spanx, once said her father used to ask her at the dinner table, "What did you fail at today?" Think about that. Not what did you win, not what went well. What did you fail at? It wasn't a cruel joke. It was training. A subtle reprogramming. She was learning to see failure not as something shameful, but as something essential. A sign that she was trying, stretching, reaching. And that mindset gave her something most people never develop: resilience. What about you? What mistake are you still afraid to look at? What failure are you still avoiding? Write it down. Name it. And then, without judgment, ask, what was this here to teach me? Don't try to feel better. Try to see clearer. Sometimes the lesson is humility. Sometimes it's preparation. Sometimes it's that you weren't ready yet. And sometimes it's simply this: the path you thought was yours wasn't. And that's okay. Because failure isn't proof you're broken. It's proof you're in motion. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Mark. He lived in a small apartment in Cincinnati. Worked 12-hour shifts as a delivery driver, sending money home to support his sick mother, carrying the weight of student debt. One icy winter night, his truck skidded and crashed. The company let him go. A week later, his girlfriend left. Mark sat alone in silence. No job, no partner, $72 in his bank account. And this thought crossed his mind: no one's coming. I have to come for myself. That's when something shifted. He didn't post online, didn't ask for pity. He took a day job fixing cars. A year later, he was repairing the same truck model he once crashed. 7 years later, he published a book, Enduring Didn't Make Me Strong, Rebuilding Did. That's what failure is. A reset. Not a signal to stop. A signal to start again wiser. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle isn't there to block you. It's there to sculpt you. And the longer you avoid it, the longer you avoid who you're meant to become. So let's get real. What's the failure you still carry like a wound? Maybe you let someone down. Maybe you let yourself down. Maybe you gave up too soon, or stayed too long. It doesn't matter. What matters is this: are you willing to face it now? Not to fix it, but to learn from it. Because once you can stare at your own failure without flinching, you become untouchable. Not because you never fall, but because you always rise. You become someone who doesn't bluff strength. You become someone who's forged in it. And that's the kind of person who commands quiet respect. The kind others don't underestimate. The kind who doesn't speak loudly because they don't have to. If you want to build a mind that's strong, failure isn't your enemy. It's your instructor. So go back to your journal tonight. Write the failure that still haunts you. And then write the lesson it was trying to teach you. Do that enough, and something strange will happen. You'll stop fearing failure. You'll start respecting it. And when others crumble under pressure, you'll stand. Because you've failed before and risen stronger. Master your emotions under fire. Try to remember the last time someone said something that got under your skin. Maybe it was a sarcastic remark, a subtle insult, or just a dismissive look. For a moment, your chest tightened. Your pulse jumped. Your mind flooded with comebacks you wish you'd said out loud. Sound familiar? That's the emotional reflex. Most people live by instant reaction. But here's the problem: every time you react without thinking, you give your power away. You hand your peace to someone else's mood. You hand your day to someone else's words. And that's not strength. That's surrender. Stoicism doesn't tell you to feel nothing. It tells you to feel deeply and choose wisely. Because emotion isn't the enemy. It's a message. But if you don't pause, you'll miss what it's trying to teach you. Think of emotions like fire. Left unchecked, they burn everything around you. But when managed with skill, they heat, cook, and sustain life. Your job isn't to put the fire out. It's to master it. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, don't let someone's bad behavior turn you into a mirror of them. Stay yourself. That's the real flex in a reactive world: self minus possession. Let me give you an example. A candidate walks into a job interview. Smart, qualified. But the interviewer gives them a cold look, almost skeptical. Most people would tense up. try too hard, get flustered. But this candidate smiles gently and asks, "Could you share any concerns you might have?" You'd love to address them. The room goes silent. That's presence. That's composure. That's the kind of energy that unsettles people, not because it's aggressive, but because it's grounded. You can't fake that. You earn it by practicing emotional restraint like a craft. So here's how you start. Every morning, before you step into the world, remind yourself today, "I will not be easily moved." Write it. Say it. Feel it. And throughout the day, whenever tension rises, count to 5. Seriously. Just count. Not because it's magic, but because those 5 seconds are enough for your higher mind to catch up. In those 5 seconds, ask, "Is this worth my peace? Will I regret what I say next? What outcome am I creating?" Those questions act like brakes on a runaway train. You don't have to scream back. You don't have to prove a point. You don't have to win the argument. You just have to win yourself. There's a line in the Bible that says, "A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back." That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Because anyone can explode. Anyone can lash out. But the one who holds their fire, that's the one who commands the room. Not with volume, but with presence. I once met a man in his 50 seconds who said something simple but powerful. "It took me 15 years to stop arguing when my wife was upset. Not because I gave up, but because I realized someone's got to hold the center." That's not defeat. That's leadership. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you never cry, get angry, or feel pain. It means you don't act on those emotions until they've been processed. It means you don't let the worst 10 seconds of your day dictate the next 10 hours. You want to build a strong mind? Start by treating every emotional trigger as a weight. Each time you resist the urge to snap, you get stronger. Each time you pause before reacting, you build muscle. Not the kind others can see, but the kind they can feel. Because make no mistake, people feel it. They feel when they're talking to someone who doesn't flinch, who doesn't get pulled into every storm, who doesn't hand out emotional energy like free samples. And here's the part no one says out loud: the kind of emotional strength that settles people. Not because it's threatening, but because it reflects back their own lack of control. Fail, poke, provoke, test your calm, not to break you, but to see if your peace is real. And if it is, they'll respect you even if they don't understand you. So what can you do today? Choose one moment, just one, where you normally react emotionally. Pause. Count. Choose silence if needed. Let others waste their energy. You guard yours. Because true power is not in domination. It's in discipline. And when you become the kind of person who doesn't need to react, doesn't need to argue, doesn't need to win, you become someone who quietly leads without saying a word. You become a presence in the room. And that's something people feel deeply. Build an unshakable mental core. In Stoic philosophy, strength doesn't start loud. It starts quietly alone in the mind. It doesn't come from power, money, or recognition. It comes from stability. From knowing who you are and what you stand for, even when everything around you falls apart. Picture your mind like a house. Most people build theirs out of paper held together by praise, convenience, and perfect conditions. It looks fine on sunny days. But when the storm hits, when pressure, doubt, or crisis shows up, it collapses. The Stoic builds with stone. Quietly. Patiently. Every brick laid with discipline. Every window reinforced with reason. And when the storm comes, they don't panic. They don't look outward. They shut the door, secure the frame, and stay calm inside. So, how do you build that kind of mental core? Start with one truth: no one can rattle you unless you let them. People can insult you. Life can test you. But unless you grant them access to your center, they cannot shake you. Your core must be sacred ground. That means learning what's not worth reacting to. Let's be honest, how many times have you exploded over something trivial? A rude driver, a slow email, a misplaced comment. You thought it was the event that disturbed you, but it wasn't. It was your decision to let it in. Marcus Aurelius said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Think about that. It's not the traffic. It's your belief that traffic shouldn't exist. It's not the criticism. It's your attachment to being seen a certain way. Once you change your estimate, once you realize most things aren't worth your peace, you stop reacting. You respond. With choice. With clarity. Here's a tool to help you start the rule of one moment. Choose one moment today where you normally overreact. Just one. Maybe it's when you spill coffee, when your plans get disrupted, when someone speaks over you. In that moment, pause. Don't clench. Don't argue. Just ask, is this worth my energy? That one question can keep you centered. Do it every day. That's how you lay another brick in your foundation. And slowly, your mental core becomes untouchable. Let me tell you a true story. There was a man named Mark. Not a philosopher. Not a guru. Just a guy trying to survive. He lived in the suburbs of Ohio. Worked delivery jobs. His mother was sick. His debts were rising. One winter night, his truck skidded on black ice, crashed. He lost his job. A week later, his girlfriend left. He sat alone in a freezing apartment, heater broken, bank account near zero. But he didn't post a sob story. He didn't spiral. He opened his phone, typed into his notes app, "No one's coming, so I'll come for myself." 3 months later, he was fixing cars at a mechanic shop. 7 years later, he published a book titled, "Enduring Didn't Make Me Strong, Rebuilding Did." That is what it means to have a core. Not to never fall, but to stand back up with grace. The Stoics never promised a life without chaos. They promised that chaos would reveal you. And if you're rebuilding a strong mind, you must welcome that. Don't wait for others to believe in you. Don't depend on the world to validate you. Your core isn't built for them. It's built to hold you when no one else does. Here's a simple exercise. Every night, ask yourself, what tested me today? Then write down how you reacted and how a stronger version of you might have responded. Not to shame yourself, but to train yourself. Over time, you'll see a shift. You'll catch yourself before you speak. You'll breathe before you act. You'll stay still when others are spiraling. And people will notice. They might not say it out loud, but they'll feel it. They'll feel that something about you is different. Not louder. Not colder. Just stable. And that kind of presence, it unsettles people. Because it reflects what they don't yet have. And deep down, they know it can't be faked. You didn't get it by reading quotes or watching motivation. You earned it. In silence. In practice. In small, consistent choices. So what's next? Now that you've built stability, you need to understand the final piece. The force that sustains everything you've created when motivation disappears. Discipline. And that's what we'll explore next. Why discipline beats motivation. Let's be honest. Most people don't lack ambition. They lack discipline. They want the body, the business, the peace, the growth. But they wait for motivation to show up first, like it's some magical guest that will knock on their door and hand them a new life. That's not how transformation works. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Discipline is different. It's steady, quiet, relentless. Motivation makes promises. Discipline delivers results. Let me walk you through a moment you've probably lived before. It's early. Your alarm goes off. It's dark. It's cold. Your body is heavy. You tell yourself, just 5 more minutes. 5 becomes 15. Then 30. You finally get up late, annoyed, already behind. Not because your body was weak, but because your mind wasn't trained. That's the cost of a life built on motivation. It crumbles in discomfort. But when your foundation is discipline, the outcome changes. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus said no man is free who is not master of himself. And what is mastery if not doing what must be done no matter how you feel? That's what discipline is. It's showing up when you're tired. It's pushing through when you're uninspired. It's following through when your emotions scream quit. You want to write a book? Great. Then write 500 words every day, even when you're blanked. You want to get fit? Fantastic. Then train 5 times a week, even when you're sore. You want to build peace? Beautiful. Then practice calm, even when your world is loud. Discipline is the difference between wishing and becoming. And here's the truth: disciplined people aren't superheroes. They're not gifted. They're simply done waiting. They know that feelings are variables, but action must be constant. A professional athlete trains on heartbreak. A monk meditates in noise. A writer writes through boredom. These people don't rely on inspiration. They rely on systems. Because systems create momentum. Motivation doesn't. Want to lose weight? Get rid of junk food at home. Schedule meals. Track workouts. Not because you're obsessed, but because you're tired of starting over. Want to master your craft? Block out 2 hours daily. Shut off your phone. Create even when it sucks. Especially when it sucks. Because that's when real growth happens, when you show up without applause, without perfect conditions, without feeling like it. That's discipline. Discipline isn't punishment. It's liberation. It frees you from the tyranny of your moods. It teaches you that the strongest version of yourself doesn't live in the future. He or she is waiting on the other side of one simple act: consistency. Let me say this as clearly as I can. You do not rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your habits. So look at your day. Did you move your body or just think about it? Did you build something or scroll endlessly? Did you live by your values or your cravings? The truth isn't in your goals. It's in your calendar. Motivation says, I feel like doing this. Discipline says, I do it anyway. One is a visitor. The other is a builder. So what are you building? The Stoics believe that how you do anything is how you do everything. If you delay your alarm, you'll delay your purpose. If you skip hard tasks, you'll skip hard truths. If you break promises to yourself, you'll break the foundation of your mind. That's why discipline is sacred. It's not just about success. It's about integrity. And people feel that. You don't need to announce your progress. They'll see it in your posture, in your presence, in how you say no without guilt and yes without fear. Because a disciplined person radiates something rare in this world: reliability. And that shakes people. Not because you try to intimidate, but because your consistency reminds them of their inconsistency. That's not arrogance. That's gravity. So, start simple. Set a wake minus uptime and keep it. Set non-minus negotiable task and do it. Not for the world. For you. Because the world doesn't need another loud voice. It needs another solid presence. And that presence is built not in bursts, but in the quiet repetition of daily discipline. Become the person they can't shake. So here we are. You've walked through discomfort. You've broken the old habits. You've built rituals, faced your failures, calmed your emotions, and traded motivation for discipline. And now something's changed. Maybe it's subtle. Maybe no one else sees it yet. But you feel it. A kind of stillness. A kind of knowing. Not in your mind, but in your bones. You no longer chase peace. You create it. You no longer need to prove strength. You embody it. That's the transformation Stoicism offers. Not louder, not tougher, but calmer, clearer, unshakable. And if you've made it this far, there's something you need to understand. You are already becoming the person others can straddle. Not because you never break, but because you've learned how to rebuild. And that kind of strength is rare. Because most people wear masks. They flex, argue, defend. They confuse volume with power. But not you. Your silence speaks louder than their shouting. Your discipline speaks louder than their excuses. Your calm settles their chaos. They won't always understand it. Some will push harder, hoping to find a crack. Let them. Because you've done the work. You've stayed when others quit. You've chosen clarity over comfort, truth over trends, resilience over reaction. You've learned that the strongest person in the room isn't the one who dominates, but the one who doesn't need to. You've learned that control isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. And now, you live differently. You wake up not needing to be saved. You walk into rooms not needing to be seen. You face problems not needing to be perfect. That's what Stoicism builds, a mind so rooted, so trained, so present that nothing outside can move what's inside. Let's bring it all together. You've learned to pause before you react, to move before you're ready, to accept what you can't control and master what you can, to treat failure like feedback, to treat discomfort like a gift, to treat discipline like a daily vow. And every time you live that way, you place another brick in the fortress of your mind. No one sees the effort, but they'll feel the result. They'll feel it in your eyes when you listen without needing to speak. They'll feel it in your walk when you move with no apology. They'll feel it in your presence when you enter a room and nothing needs to be said. Because that's what happens when you build a mind this strong it scares people. Not in a way that harms, but in a way that holds a mirror. Your steadiness reflects their storm. Your clarity exposes their chaos. Your peace asks them a question they might not be ready to answer. What if I could be like that too? And maybe they can. But only if they do what you've done. Wake up early. Do the hard thing. Own their emotions. Rethink their failures. Sharpen their habits. Choose discipline. And build day by day a mind that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to win, doesn't need to be seen. Because it already knows who it is. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the moment you realize you've already begun. You're not who you used to be. And you're not done becoming. So now, you walk forward. Strong. Calm. Unshakable. And if this message reached you, if you felt something shift inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more truths that shift your perspective. Because this isn't just a video. It's a new way of being. Let the world shake. You won't. We are currently giving away a free ebook, 12 Stoic lessons that will change your life. To receive your gift, simply follow the channel and leave a comment that says, I have followed, or I would like to receive the gift. We will reply with the download link directly below your comment.